My name is Melanie Strong, and I'm a resident of Travis County. I'm a general contractor and realtor by trade, and I'm going to give you a brief timeline of my experience as a neighborhood leader and a community liaison. I've used my background in construction and my leadership skills in the specific area of Sandy Creek at the end of Windy Valley Road to help the residents clear the property of debris, manage volunteers and heavy equipment, and help them sift through the destruction and try to find any personal belongings. As well as I've personally brought in shipping containers, tents, and security to protect against looting. In the evening of the 8th, 3 days after the flood, I was disturbed to see a woman, Auburn Gallagher, a 25-year resident of Sandy Creek, pleading for help on social media. This area of Travis County is only 20 minutes away from where I live, and after doing some digging and making a few calls to the only two people I knew in that area, one of which lives on Nameless Road that leads to Windy Valley, and the other one lives on Windy Valley. Both of them had the same thing to say, and that was that nobody came. They were left in the dark, and they did not have resources to dig themselves out. I woke up my significant other, who is a lieutenant in the Capital Region of Austin for DPS, and I told him that we needed to go and see for ourselves. I asked him if he had gotten any emails or phone calls requesting assistance, as he would have been one of the first ones to receive that request, and his answer was no. He refreshed his email again, and there was nothing requested from Travis County. We drove out to Nameless Road and came to a bridge that was out. We watched several vehicles drive over it, even though it was coned off. Once we backtracked and drove through Treviso, and we came upon a single sheriff's deputy who was posted near the other side of the bridge. He was the only deputy stationed for that entire area. We pulled in and asked him what happened the night of the flood because we had been told that no one came. He confirmed that he was working on the night of the flood and had over 50 calls directly to him that he was unable to get to as he was caught between Cow Creek and the low water crossing for the Balcones Nature Preserve. That's a 20-minute drive on a clear night. He was on the other side of the county, and there were no other deputies available for the Sandy Creek area. Sorry, I lost my spot. He was stuck there for from approximately 3 a.m. until 10:30 in the morning when he was able to get out. He was landlocked along with other deputies, some of which had to evacuate from their own vehicles to escape the floodwaters on foot. We finished our conversation and went back home. On Wednesday morning, I went to my friend's house that lives on Windy Valley. His property extends both sides of the road. One portion of his property extends into the creek, and the other adjacent property is where his home is. The water came across both properties and into his home over 2 feet high. He took me to the creek that was previously an overgrown dry creek bed, and where we found his neighbors trying to dig out an elderly neighbor who is unable to get out of her home. And this is 4 days later. I spent the next few hours walking down the creek and witnessing the neighbors and volunteers with chainsaws and bobcats and small excavators digging each other out. I spoke to many of them, and their testimony was all the same. Nobody came. No emergency services came to them. In the hours after the floodwaters receded, their 911 calls went unanswered.
Ms. Stalling, thank you for your testimony. My question is, we've heard from 3 of you now. You're not saying that there was no resources just from the sheriff. Your testimony is that there was no Travis County resources from any first responding discipline.
Nobody.
Before you speak, please restate your name.
My name is Auburn Gallagher. Nobody came. No resources. Nobody came.
No fire, no EMS,
Nobody came.
no sheriff.
Nobody came for us. Nobody.
That's unacceptable. Thank you for your testimony.
While we're there, real quick, in the DPS testimony last week, I met you ladies in a hallway there at the Capitol. The DPS said they had put resources there, couldn't remember exactly when they showed up, but from an actual cleanup or mitigation or help perspective, but this was regarding looting and stuff. So do you know when the DPS were there?
Yes. Yes, they came only after my many requests because, like I said, I brought in my own shipping containers and tents to protect from the looting because that area was receiving a lot of donations. And we had an entire pallet of chainsaws that were donated disappear overnight. And basically, I just begged my boyfriend to figure it out. I'm like, you have to get people down here. They need help. And he made the captain that is over that area, made TDEM, whoever was in charge at TDEM over there, very aware that although there were a lot of DPS resources that had been allocated to Kerrville and Williamson County, that to let them know that there were still plenty of troopers ready and willing to come assist. And the request was, or the offer was declined.
All right, thank you. All right, sir, state your name.
Howdy, y'all. My name's Timothy Mabry, and I'm representing all the volunteers who showed up to help. So my story started out on July 4th in Canyon Lake, where I assisted in setting up a donation center for here in Kerrville. We ended up sending, on July 6th, 11 trucks and 7 trailers of supplies to here in the Kerrville area. Then that night of the 6th, I saw Auburn Gallagher's video saying that Leander was hurting, that there was a major need. That next morning, I called up the church there, and I heard the exact same thing from the church. The church told me we were almost out of food, we're almost out of water, and we're out of supplies for children, like diapers and wipes and formula. This is what we're out of. And we happened to have some extra supplies that got dropped off right after our last truck went out to this collection point. So I loaded up a U-Haul, and I drove it and I had my wife driving my truck and a few other volunteers. We drove it up to Leander, and what I saw was horrendous. HEB had just shown up, and there was a Travis County emergency manager on site. And I asked him, what is going on? Do you need assistance? Because I started to see how crazy this was. My background, I spent over 10 years in the fire department. Before that, I was Navy. I have a lot of experience in emergency management. And I asked, hey, do you need assistance? And he said, I don't know. I don't think so, but I'm not sure yet. Just be on standby. I asked him, do you have a full ICS, incident command system structure, up and running? And the answer was no, we do not. Those supplies were being turned away because HEB had shown up. And HEB at that point was giving out small little bags of groceries to people. It was just enough of an allotment for an evening. I then went up to Ms. Gallagher's house afterwards, and I got to see the devastation firsthand on Windy Valley, where multiple homes were completely devastated, and the loss of life, it's heart-wrenching. Out of 2 properties, 6 people did not make it, 1 did. And to hear their stories is heart-wrenching, what happened on that street, and then getting turned away. I made a phone call to a friend who does global disaster recovery, and I told him the situation, and I requested a FEMA command trailer to show up to that site. The next morning, that Tuesday morning of the 8th, a FEMA command trailer showed up to this site before an emergency management was fully set up for an incident command system. The fire chief of the Travis County ESD-1 rejected that trailer, and they were going to use this little schoolhouse. But there were still assets that were being needed. People were getting turned away, and the community effort was there. It was not the government. It was not the state doing the cleanup. It was not the government helping. It was citizens. It was Texans helping Texans who are doing the work, and are still doing majority of the work. It was after many cries and pleas for help and coordination with myself and many others of why resources in the state finally acknowledged what was going on there. And there is still a major need today, and I see my time is up, so I yield.
Thank you for that.